I'm John Furrier here in our Palo Alto CUBE studios. Hosts of theCUBE are here for a special presentation for the NYSE and CUBE special coverage of the AI Agent Conference happening in May. We're featuring some of the key speakers and innovators making the real world applications that are driving this next wave of innovation around AI experiences. And of course, looking at the ultimate outcome, which is what's going on in people's lives. Mikkel Holm is here, Chief AI and Innovation Officer at Bark. Mikkel, thanks for coming on theCUBE. Great little preamble before we came on camera about what you're working on. Can't wait to get into it. Thanks for coming on. Explain what you do real quick. I want people to understand the context for the conversation.
Right. I'd say the core of my job is implementing AI across the business. And that means from every department, from design to finance to supply chain and customer support.
You have a unique approach to AI, obviously at Chief AI Innovation. You have a creative background, and what you guys do as a service is unique because you're using the data and you have the system set up. You're taking it from a creative perspective, but also looking from the practicality. Explain what you're working on. What's the environment like? Let's set the table.
Yeah. I come from creative myself. I ran our product development and creative for many years. And what we've seen kind of moving into AI and trying to implement that into the business, we've seen it much less as a technical challenge and much more of a change management or a human problem, if you will. And we've seen this and we've heard the stories of it, right? Every time the conversation goes to AI, it always gets to this, oh my, am I going to lose my job? Is AI going to take my job? And I've changed my position on it, where we used to have this phrase of saying like, no, you're not going to lose your job. You lose your job to someone using AI, right? And recently changed it a bit to it's like, yes, of course you're going to lose your job. Of course you're going to lose your job to AI. Have you not been paying attention at all? But what this sort of little caveat is like, at least the job as you know it today. So our approach to it is thinking across the organization, every single role, and asking the question, how is this going to change? Because it's not going to stay the same. It's not enough to just, in our case, we make silly plush toys for dogs. It's not enough just to add AI on top of a job description. It's like, oh, now you're AI enabled. It's much more interesting to say, like, what can that toy designer do now that they have AI tools available?
Yeah, so you're thinking about it from the perspective of, yeah, your current job is impacted, but the new job opportunity frees up for you. So you're soliciting input. Is that what happens next? Is that, or how does
Yeah,
that go? Take me through, by the way, I love that approach.
yeah,
Take me through that process because again, change management is part of transformation, right? It's changing. What is
yeah.
that conversation? Are you soliciting input? Hey, what do you want to do with free time or more cycles or brain power?
Yeah, I think we often get to that of like, oh, don't worry, now you can do more quote unquote strategic work. It's like not everyone needs to do strategic work, right? That's not a thing. So the way that we're talking about it and the way we're approaching is I have good allies in every department. So I have 10 people across the organization who are my allied. I jokingly call them my spies, but the idea that they're in the team and they have deep domain expertise. They understand, let's say, supply chain. I have my colleague Brian Grokel there. He understands deeply all the pain points, all the bottlenecks, all the workflows in there that are stringing that department together. But he's also deep in AI and understands the tools and what is coming and kind of what we can do. And what we're doing then together with Brian, let's say in supply chain, is running a bunch of like small experiments, like, hey, this little part of the workflow we can automate. Because I think oftentimes it gets to this sort of like grand promise, like we're going to change everything and we're going to change it overnight. And it's like, that's not how it's going to work because we're still running a business. We can't stop, right? Everything's moving full speed ahead.
It's interesting because I think that's a practical approach, but the holistic change happens when you chip away at it, right? So take me through that
Hmm.
innovation strategy. Is it, you got some departmental focus where the domain experts are. Is it to identify bottlenecks, workflows? What's the approach? Is it process improvement meets creative? I mean, how do you view that and share your thoughts? Because this is what people are trying to figure out now, which is, I don't want to scare people to death that the world is just going to drop the answer on the doorstep and we now have AI. And that's clearly hype, and that's not going to come overnight. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is for us. And I think just like everyone else, we're also trying to figure it out. And I think the more I talk to people in similar roles in other companies, they're like everyone's trying to figure it out, right? Our approach has very much been this, as you say, a lot of experiments and trying to string those together. And because also the definition of experiment is you don't know what the result is, right? If you know what the result, it's not an experiment. So a lot of these are not going to work. We're trying a lot of things that won't work, but it's very core to us. Like that's our thesis for winning at the moment. Back when we started the company many years ago, we were early on growth marketing, digital marketing, and early on all the platforms, and did a lot of experimentation there as well. So we're seeing this as another one of those moments where there's a moment in time where we can go up against like bigger companies, stronger companies, if we move fast and we experiment.
Talk about the impact on the key use cases you're focused on. Is it product development? You mentioned supply chain. Is it operational? Is it product? Is it customer? All of the above? Take us through
I
some of the
mean,
things you got your hands in.
yeah, it's all the above, and I think that it falls into two categories. One is the internal processes we're talking a little bit about. We'll go deeper into that, but there's also external facing, like what are we doing towards the customer. But for the internal part, we are, as I said, like, have these group of 10 people across the organization who are helping us identify. And we are at the moment going quite deep on supply chain. Some of those examples are like, it's very small, but just in organizing information, there's so much information going in and out of our supply chain team every day with partners in shipping, and especially in this time of the shipping market being complicated a little bit
Yeah,
extra with the tariffs coming in.
yeah.
So one of the things we've been doing there is just having some of that data transformation and just like from unstructured data into a dashboard that we can act on a daily basis.
Is there a playbook or personnel or team approach you see with this transformation? Because AI, when we look at all the interviews with theCUBE and the research we're doing, it's that, we've been talking digital transformation for over a decade, rah, rah, check, check, check. Now the
Mhm.
conversation is business transformation because a lot of business model things are involved, CFOs are involved, you talk about domain expertise, you're talking about people close to the customer, close to the problems, close to the operations. You're seeing a lot more business operations. So the team makeup becomes a conversation. Some people like to deal with ambiguity, some don't. How do you look at the team makeup, the discipline required, proficiency? Can you share your thoughts on folks that are trying to put the teams together or have their departmental spies or access the data? What's your approach on that? Share your thoughts.
I think you're right. The question that we have and trying to figure out is how to restructure ourselves overall if we were starting over again. If we were starting the company today, how would we approach it? And unfortunately, we have some of these like silos built, if you will. That's a bad word, but like some of these group built and defined already, and they're running their day-to-day business. So the challenge is like, how do you insert yourself into that? Because I think a lot of it would require breaking some of these down.
Yeah.
As example, like the split between marketing and growth, marketing and creative, right? Has often been like they're working together, but I think a lot of like the smart marketeer of the future will be able to create some of that creative themselves, or the smart creative will be able to like actually bring something to market, do a media plan, and actually analyze the data themselves, right? So a lot of those roles are shifting. What we are trying to aim for is there's a couple of layers. One is like the basic is the automation. There are some of the jobs and some of the roles that are going to be automated. And it might be a little by little. In some cases, it's the full job that's going to be automated. More and more are coming on that. And it's getting easier and easier to build all these agents, automations, right? The second layer is more interesting, where it's an augmentation of our team. So I think in the beginning, when I was starting this journey, I think everyone at the company had this idea. I have a name of everyone's, a list of everyone's name, and I strike through and write AI next to them. That's not the case. What I do like with that list of all the names of the employees, like, what's that personal AI tech stack, if you will, that's next to them? What are the tools for each individual that are right for them to enhance how they work, and so that we can augment every single team member? Because it's great if we have few of us that using the tool and getting like, I get 20% more efficient, but if I can get 100 or 500 people to be 2% more efficient, then it's starting to get an
I
impact.
love that phrase, personal tech stack, because that's your toolkit. It's totally
Exactly.
awesome. I haven't seen anyone really kind of standardize on a toolkit. You got ChatGPT, you got Perplex, all these different tools. I see memes all around. Here's your toolkit, but that's where it's going.
I think that's where it's going, and I think the other challenge is this is not a static, because
Yeah,
it's going to evolve so quickly. Very specific recent example, right? Our design team been working with different kind of image generation models, and then ChatGPT drops their new image generator, and it's just so much better than what we've been doing before. So it switches workflow literally like
Yeah.
within the past few weeks. So I'd say yes, we need to define that toolbox and that tech stack, but it can't be static because it's still evolving so quickly.
You know, one of the things I've been riffing on with folks I've been chatting with is that what's the human intelligence changeover? You had a creative background all your life, you're in operations. Was seeing almost an interdisciplinary convergence on the human role, human in the loop, or whatever you want to call it. Human in the loop, human intelligence, human creativity, human
Hmm.
efficiency, collaboration. You're starting to see a bunch of, I don't want to use the word soft skills in a literal way, but almost a soft skills, but interdisciplinary, kind of like a new world courseware coming that's required for people.
Yeah.
Because there's static, one tool player, you know, maybe you might not survive.
I
What,
think,
what's your
oh,
reaction to
yeah,
that?
I think you're right. I think I like the soft skills because I do think the other word for that we've been using has been orchestration. So you're like the conductor of this. So what you need to be there is like that's the leadership role. That is conducting all these tools and all these processes. Whether you're as a leader, you have a mix, I think, of humans that are working with you, but you also have a mix of with in their agents or full workflow automation. It's knowing when to do what. So some of those skills, I think, goes back to like classic leadership skills of understanding how to interact, critical thinking, how to interact with people. Um, it's not some of those are going to be static, but I think you need a very flexible mindset to how you get it done.
I notice you have a background at Lego, and I
Correct.
want to bring up a question, not a question, a comment. I'd love to get your reaction. I've been seeing the engineering side of the trends where whether it's coding, AI infrastructure, I mean, certainly in one area, the engineering side, all the alpha coders are going down in the stack to the firmware level, microcode, assembler. They're squeezing every performance out of the chips. A whole nother systems design thinking going on around there. And then as you move up the layer of the stack, but there's a certain part of the stack and below where the engineers are like Lego engineering. I mean, they're like,
Hmm.
I've used the word Lego. The Lego engineer is the new engineer because there's a lot of pre-built things and coding assistance going on. So, you've been there. So since I used the word, do you agree that it's kind of like a Lego block kind of vibe here? And then if anyone wants to build their own Millennial Falcon, they could do that, right? I mean, so again, the creativity comes back to full circle.
Right.
What do you think about that analogy? Because when I was in school, you didn't know everything. I had to code
Hmm.
up and down the stack. I had to go to the operating system level, do the graphics, but now with open source, you're starting to see an engineering mindset that looks a lot like the Lego generation.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Lego kid still to this day, right? As you can imagine. So I like
Yeah.
any kind of reference like that. I do think you're right. Take myself as an example. I've always been an idea person, and I've always been dependent on other people to bring it to life, right? I've always been dependent on someone, right? Whether it's like the engineering team or the media buying team or whatever it could be. And I find now what's super exciting is that now I can bring a lot of those ideas to life myself, right? And I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing this in like much smaller teams where you can do a lot more yourself. As you say, like the building blocks are there. Um, I do think there's the other side of the mix to it. You still need domain expertise. You still need to know, and the people who are really taking advantage of these building blocks are those who know what good looks like within that domain. So that's why you sort of internally for us, right? When we working with the supply chain team, I can pretend to be a supply chain expert for a while with ChatGPT behind me, um, but at the end of the day, there's something of a domain expertise that's built up that you still got to lean on.
You bring up a great point. I love this riff conversation because creativity and craft becomes a huge asset. Having craft, like
Hmm.
you get some output from ChatGPT, I still got to package it. I mean, so there's a little bit of craftsmanship coming back to everything. What's your reaction to that? What's your view on having craft and make it human?
I think it's right. It's the conversation that we've had before, right? Of if there's going to be more and more AI generated content, what's then going to be valuable? And there's this spectrum where, as we're talking about at least, you got to be at either end of this from a creative, again, point of view. Either you are fully automated and scalable, and you're just generating fast content and output faster than anyone else, or you got to be truly original. And it's not saying like original can't be generated with the use of AI tools, but there's something that's going to set you apart. And there's that big middle section of like mediocre fine work.
Yeah,
It's just
vanilla,
going to die.
vanilla.
Yeah, it's like, and that can be automated, right? Like
Yeah.
no one's going to. So that's where there's going to be definitely going to be a displacement of jobs or roles at least. And you got to figure out like how do we get to that truly original idea? And back to your idea, like that's the craft, right?
Yeah.
That's the ingenuity. That's the sort of a non-obvious ideas that we're chasing because it's just fun or just exciting that isn't in any training data anywhere because it's never been done before.
Yeah, that's the Imagineering. Mikkel, thanks for sharing that commentary. I want to ask you, what's the coolest thing you're working on right now? Share with us the coolest thing you're excited about, coolest thing you did or doing. What's cool on your world?
I mean, I'm such a nerd. I get excited about very simple things that are like small automation. So there's a lot of sort of like small internal tools that we're just excited about having. But one of the things we're really trying to do is more on that customer facing side of it, where we can deliver a better service to our customers or giving them new experiences that never had before. So there are obvious ideas of like turning your dog into like a dog in a certain style. But what we really want to do is bring your dog into the product experience. Every month, we do these themed boxes. Next month, it's Tokyo. It's a spoiler. Tokyo is the theme of next month, and we want to bring your dog to Tokyo and give. So if you give us an image,
Yeah.
we're gonna insert it into our design and our creativity in there.
Hey, if you can bring a digital twin to that world, you'll put Pokemon to shame on all these kind of virtual worlds. I think that's a great creative direction. I mean, that's an experience. That's first generation.
Yeah, the more we can do and the more we see that we get engagement from our customers, it's also a little bit of a we get more information with each step of this and we can service them better, right? So if I ask you for a photo, I get a little bit more information about your dog. If I ask you for the name, their age, all of these details, and the more and more I get, the more I can deliver a better service back to you. So ultimately, it goes back to that first mantra. It's all about making dogs happy,
Yeah,
right?
owners are dog obsessed, as you know. You mentioned that. So, Mikkel, thanks for coming on theCUBE. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you in
Thank
New
you.
York. I'll be there in June. We'll see a lot of CUBE action at the NYSE and, of course, the NYSE Wired community. Quick 30 seconds or so left. What's going on with this event? Put a plug in for Simon's event. A lot of thinkers coming together, a lot of real talent, real technical community, good cross-section of innovators and thinkers. The AI Agent Conference in May. What's it all about? What's going on?
It is an amazing collection of people, and I am humbled by being to be part of it. I'm very much looking forward to it because as I've seen the lineup of speakers and participants there, it truly ranges from people like myself who are like implementing it day to day into businesses to people who are building platforms to like deep technical challenges being solved. So very much looking forward to learning a lot more
I
when we
love
get
how
there.
we curated that event. Again, AI is craft, curation, Imagineering, talent. Mikkel, thank you for coming on and sharing. Chief AI Officer at Bark. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm John Furrier here for the NYSE Wired community in theCUBE. CUBE plus NYSE having a special presentation, digital event around the AI Agent Conference. Thanks for watching.